Okay, so hi everyone. Hello, my dear friends in innovation community. Great to be with you again. I hope everything's all right. I hope you're feeling okay. And guess what? Today we are in Kibbutz Gvat. So I know it's a tiny little place, but it's interesting. It's interesting to see the kibbutz. It's interesting to understand what life in the kibbutz look like. So Kibbutz Gvat is right in the middle of Jezreel Valley. So if you want to understand the location of where I am right now, so I'm in the central Galilee part of Israel. So if we go to the west, we'll reach Haifa. If we go to the east, we will reach the area of Afula, and Kibbutz Gvat is in between. Well, this is the freeway that will connect this place to the west, as I said, to Haifa. So this is, I hope you can see it. It's the Carmel Heights, the Carmel Mountains. And if we go to the east, we'll go throughout Jezreel Valley towards the Fula, toward the central Galilee part of Israel, and and uh, and by the way, the city where I grew up, the city where I grew up is right here, and the name of the city is Migdal Emek. So you know exactly where I am. So what we're going to do in our tour, we're gonna sightsee in the kibbutz. I must prepare you. There is not much to see in the kibbutz. It's not like a big city. It's not like the other places that we've been through. But I think to understand the concept of the kibbutz it will be interesting for you. So we'll talk a little bit in the beginning about Jezreel Valley, about Yoshua Hankin who bought the land from the west, from Naalal, by the way, from Moshav Naalal, all the way to the east, all the way to En Harod, Geva, and the historical time of this presentation today will be the first Aliyah, excuse me, not the first, but the second Aliyah and the third Aliyah. I will set up a little bit my video here. Wait a second, please. I'll be with you in a sec. Okay, I think it's better now. Okay. Okay. All right, we can continue now. So the historical time frame of our tour today will start in the early, the beginning of the second Aliyah to Israel, and I mean 1904. And we will finish with the second Aliyah ended 1914. And why the second Aliyah waved and what they did in Israel is very interesting, and why this wave of second Aliyah ended in 1914. Well, it's because of the war, because of the first Great War. And then we will move to 1919 after the war, and we'll go all the way to 1923, and this is the period of the third Aliyah. So basically, what is a kibbutz? First, we'll address the name kibbutz. So a kibbutz is, as you can see here, is an agriculture village, little village, little town, based on a socialism concept. And why they started to build kibbutzim in Israel in the beginning of the 1900s. By the way, the first kibbutz, it's kibbutz Gania, right next to the Sea of Galilee. So kibbutz means coming from the words gvutza. Gvutza, kibbutz, it's the same word, almost the same word. And gvutza in English is a team. So who were the first kibbutzniks, right? Who were the first ones who had this brilliant idea to live together as a group, to share the expenses, to share the incomes, to share the foods, to share the animals that we're going to see shortly, to share everything they have to survive. Because when they got here, so imagine that Israel, 1910, Eretz Israel, yeah, the Ottomans are still here, very hard and strong regulations. Practically, there is no much industry. There is no much agriculture. There is no much food. There is no much nothing, basically. So those 16, 17, those were the ages, approximately until the age of 20, established the format of the kibbutz, which is actually an Israeli startup, 110 years ago startup. And they wanted to live together. They wanted to share, they brought all those ideals from the socialism and communism concepts of way of living. And basically, this is how they've built those kibbutzim on the principles and on the concept of the socialism concept, and may I say even the communism concept, because they shared everything. So for example, you didn't have a house, or you didn't have your clothes, and the laundry, you shared the laundry, and you shared, of course, the education and the food. So this is how it looks like to be in a kibbutz, and this is the way people lived in the kibbutz. So a little bit about the kibbutz that we are in. We are in Kibbutz Gvat. It was founded in 1926 on a little hill named Jebata. And the source of the Hebrew source of Gvat is an ancient Jewish village from a Second Temple period. The kibbutz was established newcomers from Pinsk, and the neighbors here wanted to 34 Jewish people in the memory. I'm sorry about that. In the memory of the 34 Jewish who were killed here by the Polish army in Pinsk. Okay, so this is a little bit about the kibbutz and who founded the kibbutz and who established this wonderful kibbutz. Now, on a personal note, I must say that I played here in the kibbutz basketball team for 3 years in a row. By the way, first division in Israel. So the level of basketball here was pretty high in those days, in the 80s and in the 90s. So it was really my second home. A little bit that water tower that we see here was built in 1931. And in the top of this tower water, there was, we guarded. This is where the guards of the kibbutz were. They could look 360 if somebody approached, if somebody wanted to arm the farms or the agricultures, different agricultures, different fruits and trees that are planted all over the kibbutz. So that was not only this water tower didn't only serve for water, but it served as well to protection. You can see here the little gun spots. So this is where they put the gun. So that you're gonna see that you're gonna see holes. You're gonna see holes. So those holes are the guards hole. So you see, you have those holes pretty much around the water tower. Okay. So of course they don't use those tractors anymore, but it's a little museum. It's a little museum a little homage to the time where all those kibbutzniks woke up very early in the morning and works the fields, plant the trees, plant the seeds, so they can survive, so they can eat, so they can sell the products that they were made here in the kibbutz. And now I'm gonna show you some cows, and it's pretty typical. And it's pretty typical to have cows in a kibbutz. So we're gonna go this way. We're not going to disturb the cows. We're gonna be very quiet now so they can stay in the shade and eat. And this is still one of the financial resource of the kibbutz. So it's the milk, of course, it's the cheese, and of course, any other products that are produced by the cows. So let's go back a little bit to history, because history is crucial here to understand the beginning of the kibbutz concept. So we have this guy, this unbelievable guy, Yoshua Hankin. Maybe you heard of him. And Yoshua Hankin decided to bought the land of Jezreel Valley. Now, why decided to bought all those lands? Because they were useless. There were swamps. Nobody believed that throughout the region of this Jezreel Valley region, somebody do something in those lands. But he bought the lands, the swamps lands and the deserted lands and the sandy lands, and really lands that are worth nothing to the Ottomans. We call them Afandi. Afandi are the people who were owners of those lands. So Yoshua Hankin, by the way, Kfar Yoshua village, a little bit to the west here, is after his name. And hey, say hi, how you doing? Oh, you look happy, you look relaxed. And this guy is buying all the lands from Naalal in the west, Moshav Naalal in the west, all the way to En Harod in the east, not too far away from Bet Shean, a little bit east from Afula. So he's buying the lands, and while the newcomers in the second Aliyah, as I've mentioned in the beginning, 1904 to 1914, and it stopped, of course, because of the great war. So is giving the land to those unbelievable chalutzim, pioneers, who came here during the 20th and even before of the 20th century, and build one after another few of kibbutzim. Some of them will be a little bit more familiar to you, and some of them I will not. But if I'll give you like a briefing, a geographical briefing. I will say that we have some moshavim, like Balfouria, like Naalal, like Tel Adashim, where our great general Raful lived, Rafael Eitan. And we have a few kibbutzim. So we have Gvat, and we have Ifat, and we have Genigar, and we have Sarid. So while I'm talking and giving you this presentation, you can check those maps and exactly the region, and you will see that Jezreel Valley is full, is packed with kibbutzim and moshavim because of the deserted land. because of the fact that Yoshua Hankin bought those lands and give them to the newcomers, give them to the Chalutzim, so they can produce whatever they wanted to produce during those days. So this is the story of the beginning of the kibbutzim. And as you all know, in the beginning of the state of Israel, basically, shalom. So basically, socialists have built Israel. So, and they came with very strong state of mind of how the world should look like. So they got a lot of support from the government. So until 1977, the Moshavim of the Kibbutzim, who were the part of Mifleget Avoda, the labor, the Israeli Labor Party, got a lot of help from the Israeli government. And they had a very comfortable life. I mean, when the kibbutz couldn't hold himself, when the kibbutz, because of certain reasons, because of market reasons, because of financial reasons, so basically the government closed the gaps. Basically, the government closed the financial gaps of the different kibbutzim throughout Israel. And when you walk in a kibbutz, you will see how pretty it is. So I will turn my camera right now, and I will show you some sightseeing of the kibbutz. Maybe we have a nice kibbutznik who are willing to talk with us, to share with us a little bit about what it is to be a kibbutznik. So this is the marketplace right here. And this is an historical water fountain right here. By the way, my both kids lived in a kibbutz. So this is the historical madgira. Madgira is where you can grow up animals in it. Okay, so I will continue my tour right here and a little bit in the shade because it's getting pretty hot in here. I would say approximately 100 degrees. So if you'll excuse me, I'll walk in the shade a little bit. And I will continue my tour. So I started to tell you the story about and what happened in the beginning of Israel. David Ben Gurion, Moshe Sharet, Levi Eshkol, Golda Meir, all those great leaders of Israel were socialists, were Mifleget Avoda, the Labor Party, and they really sponsored the kibbutzim and the moshavim. So even though they had deficits, the government handled it because they understood the importance and the importance of having kibbutzim and moshavim in Israel, not only because of financial reasons, because of social reasons as well, because of this unbelievable startup that really create the nation before the establishment of the state of Israel. So having a kibbutz or having a moshav, when you see when you see the kibbutz and the moshav, you don't think about only benefits. It's not only a financial cause. You have social cause, you have historical cause, you have ideological cause. I will show you some more of the ancient agriculture tools that the first pioneer used to work the land. So that was fine. That was fine during the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. And of course, the kibbutzniks were known as the best soldiers, went to the best units. They were really what we call melach haaretz, like the best soldiers and as well leaders. Because you know that, for example, Ehud Barak, yeah, the General Barak, who was Israeli Prime Minister and Secretary of Defense, grew up in a kibbutz, okay? And this is only one example. So everything was pretty much all right until the 70s, 80s. Now, what happened in the 70s, 80s? Well, in 1977, the government of May 17th, 1977, the government have changed. So the Likud came to power, Menachem Begin. And they had a different concept. They have a different ideology. They believed that they needed to support more the little villages like Migdal Haemek, like Afula, like Ofakim, like Dimona, like all those forgotten towns in Israel, way up in the north, Metula, and Maalot and Shlomi, all those really forgotten little towers who actually when the newcomers of the 50 and the 60, mainly the immigrants for Arab countries, couldn't stay in Arab countries. So from Morocco and from Iraq and from Egypt and whatsoever, any Arab country you can imagine, Tunisia, like my family, like my parents, who couldn't stay in Tunisia and fled away, ran away from it. So those little towns, what we call them in Israel, development towns, were mainly Likud towns. So this is not only a political issue between the Labor and the Likud, but it is an ideology issue as well. Because the newcomers of the 50s and the 60s were different. They were not like the 16, 17, 18, the teenage who came in the 20s and the 30s of the state of Israel and established the kibbutz and the moshav. They were newcomers from Arab countries. They were older. They were more traditional. And I mean, the way of living were more traditional and religious as well. And all of those forgotten cities got the government, the Israeli government, a lot of support, a lot of money, so they can become better places. Because you need to understand that all those cities that I've mentioned, Migdal Haemek and Ofakim and Dimona and Maalot, were tent cities. People live in tents. Okay, so you need to understand that as well. Of course, they came with nothing because the Arab countries didn't let them to get anything from their homelands. So, and they lived in tents. That's what they had to live in. So of course, the Israeli government started to put more and more money in those forgotten little towns as I've described them. Now, what happened? The kibbutz, the kibbutz and the moshavim, who used to, I will turn my camera so you can see the kibbutz. It's pretty cool, it's pretty nice. The kibbutzim and moshavim got used to get the Israeli help, the Israeli government's help. Now they needed to fight their existence, their economic existence. There was the government changed his state of mind. The Israeli government changed its point of view. The Israeli government decided to enforce and enhance the little forgotten towns. And now the kibbutzim needed money. They needed a lot of money because, as you know, the kibbutzniks, doesn't matter. You can be an engineer, you can be a teacher, you can be an agriculture, whatever, a scientist, whatever you do as a kibbutznik, your salary is going to the main treasury of the kibbutz. So there are no really personal bank accounts. Okay, you will get all you need from the kibbutz: education, food, clothes. You will have a common secretary of finance in the kibbutz, like he's in charge of giving back to the residents of the kibbutz. All of them will get the same amount of money, let's say $1,000 a month. And all the kibbutznik will get $1,000 a month. Okay, so of course, a lot of kibbutznik, especially the second and the third generation of the forefathers of the kibbutz, couldn't live like this anymore. So the kibbutz went to a privatization, economic and culture situation. So now, as we speak today, the concept of the kibbutz have changed dramatically. It's no longer under the social rules and laws that I mentioned and I described to you earlier. So each and every family who wants to stay in the kibbutz will live in a little peaceful town, little peaceful village, but they will face privatization. But no longer a common dining room, no more common education, no more common incomes, no common outcomes. So each one will have his own private personal bank account, his private business. Okay, so you need to understand that the kibbutz now in Israel, it's not like in the kibbutz like 50 and 60 years ago. Now, on a personal note, I will share with you that this is where I started. This abandoned basketball court is where I started my basketball career, my professional basketball career, 13 years of professional basketball career in Israel. This is what is left of it. It's a parking lot, actually. We moved during the 80s, 83, 84, to this arena that you see. So after the bushes, it's the basketball arena. Of course, air conditioned arena, because with the heat here, it's very difficult. But this is where I started my first steps as a professional basketball player in Israel. And for in a personal note, it's quite an historic moment to share with you this little story. So throughout the 90s and the 200, more and more kibbutzim moved from the basic original concept of the kibbutz to community villages. Okay, they are now known as community villages. As I've mentioned before, as you can see, it's very quiet, it's very peaceful. I'm only one who making noise. So the kibbutznik now, basically, I believe they are having their afternoon nap. Okay, so I will share with you a few more pictures, and I will be waiting maybe for you. Maybe Tanya, you have a few questions to me. So it's a good time while I'm touring with you throughout the kibbutz, to share with me your thoughts and maybe some questions.
Was this one of the kibbutzim where the kids were living together and not with their parents?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Tanya. I will emphasize it a little bit.
Okay.
As I mentioned in the beginning, in the kibbutz, you share everything. So basically, not the parents are raising their kids. The concept was Beit Yeladim, the house of the kids. And this is where the parents send the kids. Who raised the kids? The nursery of the kibbutz. The nursery of the kibbutz pick up the kids. The kids arrived around 6:30, 7, because they need to go up early to the fields until, I would say, 4:30. And Beit Yeladim, the house of the kids. This is where all the kids got their education. By the way, as I've mentioned, my kids as well were raised not too far away from here, Kibbutz Ifat. It's really across the road. And growing kids in the kibbutz, it's a wonderful, wonderful experience for the kibbutz, for the kids, because you can see how peaceful it is. You can see how quiet it is. So they can go out. There is no barrier, as you can see. Very peaceful, no danger whatsoever. And it's a little paradise for kids, I must say. Everywhere you have basketball boards, and of course shelters, because we all know why we need shelters in Israel. So you don't have shelters in the houses like in the main cities, but here in the kibbutz, you got common. Even the shelter is common. So I will share with you the Beit Yiladim. So this is nursery right here. Of course, it's all closed now because we are in August in a vacation break. And this is another Beit Yiladim. So they're here, they sleep here, they eat here. And when they come in, the parents, they finish their day job, they come back to pick up their kids. So imagine that. Even the education was not the private education, was not like how the parents wanted to raise their kids. It was how the kibbutz wanted to raise the kids. So even the kids, if may I say, was a property, was a property of a kibbutz. Again, basketball, you see basketball everywhere. Basketball boards everywhere. So here in front of me, just one more little thing before the second question. What you see in front of me on the left side of your screen will be what we call the cheder ochel, the main dining room of the kibbutz. So this is where the kibbutzniks are coming to have their lunch, breakfast, and they have. So the kibbutzniks are running the whole operation. They are cooking the food, they're washing the dishes, and they have shifts. So 1 week is my shift, and the other week is your shift. So they are released from duty, from work, and they are coming to cheder ochel, functioning the cheder ochel. You can see still the red flag. Isn't that a coincidence? No, it is not. Why they do have a red flag? Of course, because as I mentioned at the beginning, they came with a very strong socialist, may I say, even on the border of communist ideology. And you see, still they still remember the sources of the forefathers. Yes, I'm with you, Tanya.
So my next question is, today, like on this kibbutz, does it still function the way it did decades ago, where everybody's still working on the kibbutz, or do some of the kibbutznikim work outside of the kibbutz?
Well, thank you for asking this question. These days, the kibbutz have gone through a 100% privatization, which means the kibbutzniks can work wherever they want. Their salary is their salary. They don't give it away. So if you make $1,000 a month, that's your salary. If you make $2,000 a month, that's your salary. The concept of a mutual bank account and the kibbutz is giving you whatever you need to your day-to-day life, this concept is gone, is over, it didn't work. Socialism didn't work. They went through a lot of debts. The government decided to stop to cover the debts. And this is why the kibbutznik now are like me, like any other person living in Israel, have their own work, their own jobs. They can work in the kibbutz, of course, and they can work outside of the kibbutz. Oh, maybe I'll take you to the swimming pool. Would you like to see the nice swimming pool?
Sure. And my other question is,
yeah,
how do you apply to live on this kibbutz?
Oh, that's a very good question. Thank you, Tanya. So basically, you have a committee, okay? Not everyone is accepted in the kibbutz. And that was a big cultural fight. If you saw Shalach Shabbati, the unforgettable movie Shalach Shabbati, there was a big cultural discussions and fights and arguments between the kibbutzniks and the guys like me who lived in Migdal HaEmek, newcomer from Arab countries, basically. So I must be honest on this. The newcomers in the 50s and the 60s were not allowed to live in the kibbutz. So you had this committee, this welcome committee, and they took all your information, your education, if you have any money, if you have any debts, because if you have debts, the kibbutz need to cover your debts and whatsoever. And the situation was that the committee of the kibbutz usually didn't accept to agree and welcome new people. It was very difficult to become a kibbutznik, very difficult to get into this community, and even today, still today, you have different steering committees that will accept you as a member, or what we call chaver kibbutz, a member of the kibbutz, because you can see the swimming pool is free, and you have a decent life here. You have a decent life. So this is the swimming pool, and this is the baby swimming pool, and it's pretty decent to live here. So it is hard. Referring to your question, it is hard to become a member in the kibbutz.
It's really pretty.
Okay, very good. Any other thoughts or comments?
It's really pretty. I could tell that it's hot, actually.
Actually, instead of drinking my water, I want to take a bath with it.
Oh my God.
We're reaching 100 degrees here in the valley. Don't be amazed if you see me taking my bottle of water and just put it on my head and spill it on my head, because it's crazy hot in here.
Oh my gosh.
I wish I could go dive in the swimming pool.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, my last question is, when somebody, if somebody's accepted to live in the kibbutz, they are, okay. How do they build a home? I mean, how does their size get determined?
Okay, so in the beginning, the kibbutz, the committee of the kibbutz, the chairman of the kibbutz, together with this committee, decided the size of a house. So if you are single, you have a certain size. If you are married, you have a certain size. If you are married with one kid, you have a certain size, and so on. That was in the beginning. So the kibbutz built the house. The kibbutz gave you the house. You don't have to pay for nothing, not taxes, not the price of the house, nothing. You're giving your money to the kibbutz. The kibbutz will give you the house for free. But that was in the beginning. As I said, the privatization process of turning the kibbutz from socialism to a liberal economy started in the 90s. And now, if, for example, I want to buy land here in the kibbutz, of course, I have to go through the committee. That didn't change. And then I will buy a piece of land and I will build my own house. Depends how much money I have. Depends how much, how big I want my house to be. And, but the regulations of having the ability to live in the kibbutz, even now in these days, is still under a welcome committee or some people, some kibbutzniks that will get your resume, will get your education, and will decide whether you can live here or not. So it's a very close kind of social system.
Thank you. Oh, this is really, really fun.
So you like the kibbutz?
Yeah. I'm not sure I want to live there, but I think it's, you know, it's fun to see.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my virtual tour today, the kibbutz, and you got some pretty much information. If I have to conclude my, I'll conclude my my session today. So you got some geographic background, you got some historical background, on general on the region, and specific on the kibbutz Gvat itself. And you got the basic understanding about what it is to be a kibbutznik in the early days of the kibbutz and today as well, and the process from almost communist lives to privatization life was a dramatic change for the kibbutzniks in Israel. And let's conclude my virtual tour for you of today.
Wow, that was awesome. All right, I'm stopping the recording.
So wait, one more
Okay.
thing.
Sure.
So you understand how hard it is. Okay. So 1 second, please. I just don't want to ruin my headphones. But what I want to do right now is to put my camera here. I'm going to put it here. So you will understand.
Oh, I know what you're going to do. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Okay, let's see if I can stabilize the... So I will take my headphones, and what I'm going to do is basically that. And you know why? Because the water is hot. It's like having a bath with hot water. I can't drink this water anymore.
Yeah.
It's too hot. It's too hot. So goodbye from Kibutz, but take care, guys. See you soon again. Bye-bye.